presenter coming from Houston Memorial Financial Center. So you guys got to listen carefully to her. Powerful lady. I can see Houston Downtown Financial Center, and I can see Hollywood Financial Center also. You are welcome to this very all-important team meeting tonight. And I can see Jimmy Carter Financial Center. I can see Maitland Financial Center. I can see Minnesota Financial Center. I can see Mission Financial Center. You are all welcome. New Orleans Financial Center. NOLA, that is short, NOLA Financial Center. You are welcome to this all-important team meeting tonight. O'Harry Financial Center, you are welcome. Philadelphia Financial Center, you are also welcome. We are going to get started in a matter of few minutes, just one more minute, we are getting started. So if your team members are still wandering around, moving around, get them to be here. Rhoda Financial Center, you are most welcome. Sugarland Education Center, you are welcome. And Violence Financial Center, you are, Villians Financial Center, you are most welcome. Team, you are most welcome. And Winnipeg, I can see a financial center from Winnipeg, two of them from Winnipeg. I can see Winnipeg, King Edward, Brian Sokasti.
Good to see you, Martins.
Yeah, so yeah, we can see Winnipeg Financial Center. I can see my very good friend there. It is exactly 7:30 on the dot. We are going to start right now. If I did not recognize your financial center, it is kept for another day, right? Okay, let's get started. Like I said earlier, my name is Martin. Can you hear me? Everybody hear me well?
Yeah, we hear you, Martins. It's going good. Keep going.
Okay, like I said earlier, my name is Martin Sowaninku. I have been in this business for over 10 years. Precisely, I started 2013, and I was recruited by my very good friend, Dr. Yomi Abayomi, and he brought me in here just on the line, and then I was brought into this place. And like I always tell people, don't ever despise a complimentary card given to you. He just gave me his home complimentary card, and that was where my story began. I was a caregiver, and I was working two jobs and being paid just a little bit above $4,000 every month. So I took a lot of time to go full time, and that is my greatest regret in this business. As at now, I always feel that I wish those 10 years I did part-time could have been converted to full-time. I would have made a whole lot of money. So if you are here and you have not gone full-time, don't be like me that is feeling regretful that I spent so much time on part-time. I went full-time in 2022, January 1, and I told my wife that day that I am going full-time. I don't know how I'm going to survive. You know, like the Bible has it, if I die, I die. If I perish, I perish. And so that was how it was my case. I just burnt my bridge and I went all in 2022. And I'm very grateful that at least I have been able to, you can see the green jacket I'm wearing right now. I've been able to get green jackets, make over $250,000 annual income, 12 months income. And then 2 times consecutively, I've qualified to go to Hawaii. So grateful. Was able to meet a couple of friends and a couple of people who are doing really great, and I network with them. And it's been a very good opportunity. And I'm building a lot of GS in my team as well. I'm building team all over US and Canada. I have an SMD already in the US. And in the couple of days, we are going to roll out more SMDs. And so we are really beginning to gather momentum. And I qualified to be qualified to attend Mexico. So I am most likely going to see most of you in Mexico. But tonight is not about me. It's about learning. And the topic I see that we are going to deal with tonight are very, very important. I have used this topic, and the topic has really helped me. The first topic we are going to deal with tonight is simple interest versus compound interest. You guys know what? There is what we call compound interest, and compound interest was discovered by Albert Einstein. And there was something he said about it. If you know about compound interest, you will earn it. And if you don't know about compound interest, you will pay it. I think you can decode that very well. So it's one of the wonders of the world, the 8 wonders of the world, and you need to really listen carefully. The second speaker tonight is going to speak all the way from Go Street, Brad, all the way from Go Street. Is going to speak about a very important topic, and the topic is clarity in WFG business. Do you know how it is like? If you know how clear it is, if you know what you are going to do tomorrow, if you know what is going to come up, you will have a very clear way of going. It will be a lot easier. But many of us come in and we have a whole lot of clouded environment and we don't know what is what. We can't differentiate our left from our right, and it becomes a very compounded problem. But Brad is going to also unfold for us tonight how clear, how doable, how easy, and how simple this business is. So I'm going to hand it over to the first speaker, who is Christine, all the way from Houston Memorial Center. Any shout out for her from the Houston Memorial? Is there any shout out for her? Great. So she is a kahuna, and I am urging her to be a big kahuna. So Christine, over to you.
Thank you, Martin. And this is Christine Dai from Houston Memorial Financial Education Center. Yeah, this is my first time and become a trainer. Thank you, the Go Street, and for the administration team, and you are great. And thank you, Andy, for your instructions. Today, my background is a very simple background. I joined WFG and got the license in 2004, and then the first 10 years, and just simple growth, right, as an agent. And very small team, only me full-time and with a bunch of the part-time teammates, right? So it grew very slow. And then 2015, 1 year, and we became from a very small SMD team with one MD only, right, with 300,000 points whole year, right, and one recruit, and become a CEO team in 1 year, 6 SMD, and then 1.6 million points and 265 recruits, right? So this is a change and become from simple growth become a compound growth of the team. So our team actually very, very, we have a very deep lesson about how we need to build the team, right? So from 2015 to 2019, and we have a big base shop, right? Even though we promoted to a CEO and EVC, and still 2019 we are the number 7 big base shop in whole WFG, right? And 2015 actually we are VIP of the SMD base shop, the whole WFG. But long story short, and then 2023, after a few years of stagnant, and then we joined WSB, and under the leadership and guidance of Coach Swan, and we learn how to build team from use the system and GX to the Kahuna, and then big Kahuna, right? So my topic today is about simple compound interest, right? Okay, move forward. All right, to begin with, I'm going to tell a story about the chessboard, right? And long time ago, and that's a kingdom. The king wants to reward a young investor of the chessboard. Say, oh, you can ask whatever you want, right, as a reward. The young man said, "Your Majesty, I only want the grains of the wheat." Right? Can you ask people to put 1 grain on the first square of the chessboard and 2 on the second and 4th on the third, and then so on, right? And the king look at the first few squares, and he think, wow, he asking so small rewards, right? But after the whole calculation till the end of the 64 squares, and then everybody gets shocked, right? The number is 9 quintillion, right? Actually, I don't know how to spell this word, but there's like 9 million times 1 trillion. Right? Is 10 to the 18 power times 9, right? So it's more than the whole, the more grand than the whole kingdom. They can afford that, right? So this how smart this the young investor. And so people may ask, right? What is the simple interest? What is the compound interest? Simple interest earn the interest only on principal. Compound interest earn interest on both principal and interest. So the story teaches us a powerful lesson. Small numbers, when they compounded over time, become unbelievably large. Let's give a very simple example. If we started with $100,000 at a 5% return for 20 years. If it's a simple interest, it's 100,000 times 5%, right? Equal to 5,000 per year, then times 20 years. The interest equal to 100,000. So 100,000 interest plus 100,000 principal equal total is 200,000, right? So you can calculate it. And the compound interest that you use the formula is $100,000 times 1.05 to the power of 20, right? So the result is 265,000. The difference is 65,000. You say, oh, it's not that much, right? So I calculate from 10 years to 60 years and make a table in the chart. So with the table, you can see with that simple interest, right? And then it steadily growth, very slow, right? And with the after the 60 years, it will become 400,000. People say, oh, yes, it's great, right? But, for the compound interest, right, after 60 years, right, it grows to 1.8 million. The difference is 1.4 million, right? It accelerates over time. So you look at the table, probably you don't have still not that get a shock, but that's why I make a chart. So look at the chart. The orange curve is a compound, and the blue line is a simple, right? Simple interest. So and then I wanted to make emphasize on the first 20 years. So look at the first 20 years. I named it as a danger zone. Why? Because the simple interest and compound interest, the difference between these two is very small, right? So people during this period of time, and people just impatient, right? And also they don't have a vision to see that, right? They don't believe that. Or they just cancel the investment, or they stopped the premium, or they just switch their money, right, somewhere else, and then they never experience the compound interest. Just Martin says this, the eighth wonder of the world, right? So compound interest, many people think compound interest is about the high rate. Actually, it's not, right? And many compound interest is about the time. So people say, we are not rich, right? And we are normal people, right? But everybody started with the time. Everybody has an equal investment time, right? Am I right? Yes. And then there's one thing. Compound interest can be destroyed by interruption, right? So people may curious about, right? Compound interest is destroyed by interruption, and then how come, right? So there are three factors. One is human behavior, lack of discipline, and fear, and short-term thinking, right? This is all about human behavior. And secondly, is tax, right? This is another story talking about the tax, and we always use these slides to teach our new members. What's a huge difference, right? It takes $1 and double that 20 times, and without taxation, without an interruption, it just quietly compounded, right? And it will be more than 1 million. It takes the same $1 and double that 20 times, but pay the tax along the way, right? And then it will become very small number. Right? People can't believe that. A lot of people guess is like $500,000 or 1/3, right? And is 300,000, but actually the result is 28,466. So it's a huge difference, right? And then the third one is health events, like major medical expense and long-term care needs, and all that wipe out. It can wipe out the decades of the compounding, right? So why don't most people benefit from the compound interest? The real challenge is human behavior, right? They started too late. And that's why we need to start it early. Last night, my husband, Bob, and I talked about, he just challenged me, said, why wanted to open a VUL account for our grandson, right? We have a grandson that's 2 months, right? Now almost 3 months, right? It started early, right? Yeah. And people withdraw too early, and they panic during the market drops, right? And lack the discipline. That's why they don't want it to save, right? They cannot save. They wanted to spend all the money they earn, right? Yeah, compound interest rewards consistency, not emotion. So that's a big idea, right? Simple interest pay you, it generates income. Compound interest builds you, it builds long-term wealth. Right? Wealth is not built by effort alone. Wealth is built by compounding over time. And what actually compounds, right? Then you will ask, wow, Christine, I would like to do it, and what kind of a tool? And it will compound it, right? I will look at the time, right? The stocks, so first one we talked about the stocks and index funds, and lots of our clients and even us, right? And we wanted to, to build our wealth, use the stocks and index funds alone, right? And market-based growth, the potential long-term compounding. They said they will not sell the stocks, right? They will not. They just no realization, and dividends will reinvest it, and the investment will held long-term, right? But however, even if you don't sell, dividends and fund turnover rebalancing can generate a 1099 each year as well, right? And don't talking about when market drop dramatically, people get feared, panic, and they stop, they just sell that, right? So 3 things interrupt compounding in this category: tax, human behavior, market volatility. These factors can interrupt and reduce the power of compound. Second category is most of the employees, right, has the 401k, IRA, they mess it out, right? They think that this is the only resource they wanted to build their retirement income, right? So look at this, right? It has a tax deferred growth. IRS tax code allows it to tax defer. So when the tax defer, it can build the compound on the interest. Am I right? So, and also it has employer match and long-term accumulation but however, remember the market risk will still apply. All the withdrawals are taxable income, right? And IMD, required minimum distribution, is required in the future, and the total income may affect Social Security, taxations, and Medicare, IRMA premiums. So in the end, tax is deferred but not eliminated, right? Okay, and what else is this IUL, right? We love this tool, and this is the tax deferred code 7702, right? And it has a zero flow protection, right? And then it will grow with along with the market index, right? And the cost here, a lot of people ask, oh, the insurance has a cost, right? But cost increase over time is a simple increase. Look, remember the chart I draw, that one, the blue line, this is the cost, right? But the interest, the credits are compounded. So there's the orange curve, right? So at the first 10 years, probably you say, oh, the cost is too high, but over the time, and then you will see the huge difference. Compound works best when policy is properly funded and policy is designed long term, right? So that's a challenge. We know that. And then the great thing is like when it compounded, right, you have, and that has a protection, and also that compound journey and don't have the negative way, right? But it has the tax advantage overall. At the end, it's not like a 401k, right? So VUL is similar. It has, but it has the market risk, right? Because you don't have a cap, don't have a zero flow protection. But, right, this is another tool. It has a market-driven compounding and tax advantage put together. You know, you invest outside the insurance, right? You see that. You also have the risk, but you don't have the tax advantage, right? Am I right? So it's a long-term building, and these two tools what our companies that suggested we serve ourselves and also serve our neighbors and our clients, right? And talking about the annuities, because it has a tax deferred, a tax code, right? So it also generates a compounding effect, right? So it has a long-term advantages, right? So, but for the annuities, it depends because there's so many kinds of annuity, and depends on what kind of tax code funding, right, you use, right? If you use the Roth IRAs, and then it was tax-free as well, right? And long-term care, right? And long-term care doesn't have the compound effect, right? It doesn't compound the money, but it protects compounding. Long-term care doesn't grow wealth, but it prevents wealth from being destroyed. Am I right? Yes. So what actually compound? This is a big thing. I think that later on I will introduce Brad to talk about this, right? The biggest compound is our business, right? We do GX, and then you build your teams many GX, right? You compound the GX, and then you build a Kahuna and big Kahuna. This is, I think, is the biggest compound that we can enjoy. The real question is like, do you believe in compound interest? Actually, nobody don't believe that, right? They just don't see it. They believe because this is a simple mathematics question, right? The question is, are you positioned in tools or invest in people that allowing compound to survive, right? Do you have all kinds of interruptions, right, that prevent the compound of your money or your business? Like simple interest make money, compound interest build wealth, protection keeps it alive. And the biggest compounding things in our business, right? And I think it's like the next topic, and Brad will tell everybody how we can do it. And this is Christine Dine, a proud WSB builder from Houston Memorial Financial Education Center.
Awesome, Christine.
Good job.
So, Brad, are you there?
I am here. Oh my God, Christine, that was so awesome. I used to be an engineer, so every single line of that I'm reading and taking notes. All right, so great job. And Christine's right. Like, she's talking about compound effect of money. Today, I want to talk about the compound effect of your business. Can you guys hear me okay? Can I get a thumbs up? Everything good? All right, awesome. So my name is Brad Hamada. I have been here. I have been with the organization for too long, I tell people. This is my 22nd year. And my background is engineering. So I used to be an environmental engineer. I did my undergraduate here at Santa Clara University by Gold Street, and then I did my master's at Stanford in fluid mechanics. I have my professional license in engineering, so I have this really great career path. And then somebody introduced me to money, and I found that instead of worrying about engineering and worrying about money every single day, I realized that if I could just learn about money, then I wouldn't have to worry about anything. And so financially, I've been working on my financial foundation, but I will be honest with you, out of the 22 years that I've been here, I think I spent the first 21 years very confused. And it wasn't because I don't know the products. I've done a lot of technical trainings and whatnot at convention, but I was confused not because I didn't understand, but because I didn't have clarity. And I think this is one of the biggest changes that we've made in the last year. And I'll share with you at the end what clarity has brought to our business. And so what I want to share with you tonight is I want to share with you three things, three pieces of clarity. All right. So number one, when we talk about clarity, the first clarity we need to have is our why. So, everyone has seen, you guys all have your trainer guidebook. And in the trainer guidebook, we have, if you turn to the very first page, we have our top 10 reasons to win. And so, the first thing I realized was my top 10 reasons to win were horrible. Now, they're not horrible because like I didn't want to buy a car. I didn't want material things. I didn't want to be a trillionaire just because I could. They were bad because they weren't clear enough. And so, for example, when I sit down and I talk with a lot of teammates, I realize that when I'm not clear about what a clear goal is, then I allow them to have unclear goals as well. And so, for example, some of my teammates, their reason to win is they want to be financially independent as soon as possible, right? That's fair. I think that's a great starting point. But the question is, how do you quantify that? Because if you can't quantify it, you don't actually know. If you don't quantify it, you don't actually know when you've actually hit your goal or not. And so when we talk about being clear, I want to be clear about two things when we talk about our why. So number one, your why has to be it has to be an emotional why. So it can't just be, I want lots of money soon, but you have to say, hey, you know what, in your goal, as you write it down, and I always tell people that you have to write down your goals. If you don't write down your goals, they never exist. You say, Brad, I got it in my head. I know. I say, I know that. And in 5 minutes, it's not in your head anymore, right? So it's almost like it's just kind of out there in the ether. And so when I talk about setting goals, so number one, it has to be emotional. So, you know, your goal could say something like, I'm tired of my job. I want to spend more time with my spouse and my kids. And in order to do this, right? And then, so this is the goal, right? In order to do this, instead of saying, I want to be financially independent, we have to put two things. We have to quantify it and we have to put a time frame on it. So I want to make 500,000 income in WSB in the next 3 years so I can quit my job, right? And I can be financially independent, spend time with my family. So once we start to identify the specifics of our goal, now you can actually identify, well, am I getting there or am I not? Because if I just say, like Martin's, if I just say, hey, I want to be financially independent someday, you know what happened? 20 years passed and nothing happened. Because there was never anything that I could measure that was saying that I was getting closer to my goal or not. To some people, financial independence, if they can make 20,000 a month through the business, they consider financial independence. Some people, if you live in California, if you don't make $1 million a year, you know, you're pretty much broke, right? So everyone's goals are different. Other people say, hey, I want to pay for my children's education. I say, good. So how old are they? How many do you have? How much money do you need per year per child? Like, do you understand what you need to do in order to do that? And so you might find out, to pay for my kids' education, I need to make an additional $5,000 a month to pay for my daughter's education so that she can go to college in 5 years. Something like that, right? So you have this very specific time frame, the very specific amount, and then you have the emotional reason behind that, right? I struggled through college. I came out with a lot of debt and I've struggled to pay that off. I don't want my kids to have to go through that. So when we talk about clarity, the number one clarity is you need to clarify what your why is. And so once you can have that, now you wake up every morning and honestly, just that, your mind feels very clear because you know exactly where you're heading. It's not like you're walking out into the fog and trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do today? Right? So your why is very clear on what you need to do. You have a time frame and you wake up every morning working on that time frame. Number two, clarity of not just your whys, but your goals. What is going to get you there? Like, for example, our system. And so when I talk with my teammates, right, I know who's on track because they know exactly what they want to do. The majority of them will tell me, Brad, I want to do GX. Right. So I'm like, okay, good. You want to do GX? And they're like, I want to build GX because we have this amazing Rising Kahuna program. And so I say, great. So how many GX do you want to build this month? They say, well, so clearly they haven't thought about it, right? They're like, well, maybe I'm going to build like 2 or 3. I say, okay, good. Who are they? They're like, well, maybe this guy, maybe that guy, maybe this girl, maybe that girl. I say, good. Do they know? Right? Because if you don't know what you want, if you're not even sure that you are 100% sold out to GX, how can you ask your team to do it? And if you don't ask your team to do it, how do they know that you expect them to do it? Right? So clarity of our goals is very important. And so what we started to realize was at the beginning of every single month, we needed to know exactly who was running GX with us. It's not a bad discussion to talk with somebody and say, will you run GX with the team this month? And if they say no, you say, okay, well, I'll come back next month. But this month, if you're not going to run with us, it's fair that we run a GX system. So if somebody doesn't want to run the system, then we have to work with somebody else. I don't think that's a bad discussion to have. As a matter of fact, I think it's better because you will find that a lot of people want to run GX. A lot of people want to run GX, but the people that they are working with don't know that they are supposed to be running GX with their leader. So it's not clear, right? So your goal needs to be clear. Do you want to be GX? Are you sold out to that? Number one. If you're sold out to that, then you can ask your team to. And as you talk with your team, now you can identify how many GX do we want. So this month, our team in our base shop, we actually just promoted a green jacket. And this month, we are targeting 20 GX in our team. We know exactly who they are outside of the green jacket, right? Because that green jacket is now in my super base. So every single month, we have to be very clear about what our personal goals are and what our goals are as far as our team. Now, the last thing we have to be clear, and this is what I want to share, and I think this is where a lot of people can benefit even more, is talking about your action. So we just came out of a convention, and for 21 years, I walked in and walked out of conventions. I was excited. I was more excited every single convention, more and more excited, but I realized that my results were about the same. About there, something around there. Now, that being said, being here for 22 years, it's not that I didn't make any money, right? I make a six-figure income, whatnot, and so make enough to survive. But we're not really, we say not just survive, but you want to thrive. And so when I think about, coming out of the convention, one of the biggest challenges as a leader is identifying who's going to run, but then also you might have 10 or 15 or 20 people. Now, what are they running for? Because a lot of times as leaders, we don't even know what we are running for. And so then the question is, what is our team running for? And so going into the convention, this past convention, I had a lady, I'll share with you a couple of these. I have a lady, and she was with the organization about 3 months. We have done a total of roughly probably half an appointment. Literally no appointments. Maybe one of them didn't show up, something like that. And so what I did was I sat down with her. Okay, now I'm going to do share screen. I know someone asked earlier. I wasn't sharing. Let me do share screen here. All right. Got my Elmo. So we had this lady. Her name is Alita. Right? And so we sat down before the convention and I asked her and I said, "Hey, so Alita, let's talk about how we can grow your bubble chart." And she says, "Well, I don't have anyone in my bubble chart." And I said, "That's okay. Don't worry about it." Right? So what we did was I said, "But who have you talked to about the business?" She said, "Oh, I've talked to my daughter, Kyla." I said, "Awesome. What have you talked with her about?" "Oh, I've just shared with her financial literacy, but she's like in her early 30s, so she kind of, she's a little bit like resistant to a lot of things and this and that." I said, "Okay, well, who else have you talked to?" I said, "Well, I talked to my sister, Marissa." "Okay, who's Marissa?" "Well, Marissa, she's in her early 70s and whatnot, blah, blah, blah." And we start to build from there. And what we built out a roadmap. Now, these are not people in her team. These are the people that we're going to talk to after the convention. And so coming out of the convention, her having been with us for 90 days, having done half an appointment, we came out first month out, she hit her GX. We have another couple that went into the convention, actually finished their GX right before the convention. But you know how the first couple of GXs are. They finished their GXMD just before the convention. And they felt like, they've talked with a lot of people and they felt like they really didn't have anyone else to talk to. They were running out of market. Some of the people that joined them just to help them out, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I sat down with them and we started to go through again to do this process. And look what we came out with. This is not bad for not having anyone to talk to, right? And so if you've been in the business, you realize there's always people to talk to. The problem is sometimes we make a list and the list is not visual. So we don't really understand we look at the list and we're like, I don't want to call that person. But when you start to put it in a bubble chart and you start to identify how, who are the main people. And what we did was we have all these people. And what we went through is I said, who are the people that we can get in touch with within the first week? And so we identified in red, we identified these people. And so they reach out to them. And so coming out of convention, they also hit their GX again, right? So when we talk about clarity, it's not just about having an idea of where you want to go and having a goal, but this is also having a roadmap as far as what you and what your team can do. And so for this month, I start my roadmap. So this is my roadmap this month. These are the people that I'm focusing on right now, right? So we have some people that we have, we have some people that we want to do PFS with. We have some people, there's an Uber driver here. We have a referral from a friend. I have an old teammate here. I have somebody who joined that I want to get back in the business. And so we start to really focus. And so what I realized is that once you have, let me turn this off here. Once you have your goals that are very, very clear, you can run a lot faster. You wake up every morning with clarity. It's like if you wake up and you don't have your glasses on, right? Then it's like everything looks a little bit blurry. But once you have that clarity with your goals, you know what you're running for. Once you have the clarity of knowing who is running with you in your team each week, then you are able to follow up and call and be very certain and not feel like, if someone tells you that they are going to run GX with you, you are allowed to call them every day, right? Because nobody hits GX working 1 day a week. So you have to have consistent activity. And all those people that commit to run with you, not only do they agree to have you do that, but they want you to call them. They will pick up their phone. I don't have to tell them, pick up your phone, I'm trying to call you. They pick up because they know, hey, we're running together as a team. And then, of course, once they have the roadmap of where they're going to go, then, man, you know what? You guys are ready to, you build a base shop that is ready to kick some butt. Now, last thing I want to share with you, just to kind of wrap things up. Do my share screen one more time. All right. So I shared this if you were at, let's see, come on. All right. I shared this at the Pomona convention, but I want to share with you, speaking of clarity, not going so clear here. Okay, so I want to share with you our numbers. Now, what I want to share with you, the different categories, and we're talking about last year versus this year. All right, so you see, so February 2024 to January 2025, February 2025 to January 2026, and then our percent change. So the first thing we worked on was our personal. We went from GX7 to GX13, right? So we increased our own personal activity and our personal commitment to the business. We increased that by 86%. Our personal recruits went from 25 to 40. Not bad, not great, but not bad. Our personal points went from 188,000 to 330,000. So we're trying to double it. We fell just a little bit short. And our personal cash flow went from about 146,000 to about 366,000. So we 2.5 times it, right? And so this was the personal effort that we put in order to commit to the team. Now, I want to share with you what we did with the team, because this even shocked me. Sometimes when you've been in this business for too long, nothing shocks you. This even shocked me this past year. All right. All right, here we go. Sorry about the blurriness. So our team numbers. So in February 2024, it's 2024, we had 3 people qualify GX. It was me and 2 other people. Both of those people are now SMD. This year, we had 42 different qualifiers to hit GX. Last year, we had 16 GX advancements. I hit GX7, one lady hit GX5, another lady hit GX4. Add that up, 16. This year, we had over 118 GX advancements. Base shop recruits. We went from 105 base shop recruits in a year to over 500. We increased that by almost 400%. And our base shop points, we went from a meager 291 to almost $1 million base shop. And our base shop cash flow, of course, follows the points. Our base shop cash flow also went up 238%. And so a lot of this, actually, I can say all of this started because I was tired of walking blind and I needed to figure out a way to be more clear about what my intentions were. I realized once everything was clear, my action is very precise. My phone calls are very intentional, and our team understands its role a lot better. So, we talk about compounding interest and growing your money. But if you can understand how to bring clarity to your business, like I said, 21 years, unclear, like walking blind. And just in the last year, you've seen what we can do, and we're just getting started. Most of our team, these 118 advancements, most of them have been here for less than a year. We built one green jacket. We have 2 SMDs. We probably have another 4 or 5 SMDs coming out before G26. We're gonna have, man, we got so much exciting stuff going on. And so, that being said, focus on what can compound, focus on your clarity, and I think you can build a big business from what we talked about tonight. All right, thank you.
Yeah, Brad, I am blown away, man. You have moved. I think GS has shown you a lot of clarity, and it has taken you from where you used to be to what this explosion we are seeing. And I'm sure that by the end of this year, it's going to be something over 2,000% growth. This is incredible. From what we have just heard tonight, compound interest. And I saw one thing very, very importantly, one thing that Christians talk about, interruption. When you slow down in this business, that is interrupting the flow of compound interest. When you slow down, you are interrupting the flow of compound interest, and it will take you some time to regain. So don't slow down. Brad has shown us how the roadmap, how he got clarity after a long time. So you have just tapped from 22 years of experimentation. That's what you have tapped from. In just 10 minutes or 20 minutes of his training, you have gained 22 years of experience and experimentation. So you got to put it to work. We want to see GS explosion. I have learned a lot, taken a lot of notes here, and we want to compound our effort. Whatever you have been doing from the day you join this business, every single day you open your mouth to talk, every single day you go to work, every single day you do something, you are compounding it. Sometimes I see in a pay cycle, some businesses I did over 10 years ago, and they are still compounding. I'm still getting money from inside. So my advice is don't slow down. There is no slowing down. That's why you see every three months, we are in an event so that we don't slow down. And that's how we compound. That's how we grow. That's how we move on. We want to see more GSRs. We want to see more kahunas. We want to see more big kahunas. We want to see rising kahunas. And I'm sure if we really take into practice what Christine has taught tonight and Brad has combined together to teach us, we are going to see explosion in WSB. And we are going to see more qualifiers to super trip, more qualifiers to Hawaii next year, more qualifiers for all events. And we are going to experience real explosion. Thank you, every one of you, for coming in for this training. Don't you see you got to bring more of your team into such a training like this, which bring clarity to you and to your business. You're able to identify who are really ready to run with you. Thank you, everyone, and do have a good night.